I know 25 letters of the alphabet. I don't know why. I woke up this morning, I nearly wet myself. Do you know why? No, I was not in a swimming pool, but I had a look at the Soundcore Motion X600 in the Soundcore app, and it said, firmware upgrade, come on, let's get some. And I had a look, 4.1.8 was what I was on. And of course, when I had a look to see what has changed, it said, massive upgrade to the sound. We've now doubled the wattage, and we've also had a good laugh at your expense. No, it said, all together now, we fixed the bugs we didn't know we had, and we'll still have guaranteed 10 firmwares down the road. It'll say bugs. So, 4.1.8, and so the next firmware was 4.1.9. No, it wasn't. It was 4.2.1. That was interesting, which means, technically, that is three more firmwares. Three more bugs fixed. Have they tinkered with the sound? So this is, if you haven't guessed it, the Motion X600. Have I got your notes? No, because as usual, I don't know what I'm doing, but I do know what the speaker is. This is a speaker that's getting a lot of hype. It's getting a lot of talk. I've noticed a lot of channels say this is the best speaker they have ever heard. It must be really, really good. I have already reviewed it. I've reviewed it at an earlier firmware. And I said, it's a good alternative listen. And it may well be a natural progression if you are on the Motion Plus to get that lacking of deep bass, but another punchy, detailed, nice spread of sound. But the problem was 200 quid. Is this worth 2 Motion Booms, 2 Motion Pluses? Well, I'm doing a firmware upgrade. I don't know why I'm talking about that, because obviously that's not the point of this video. Oh, I'm just giving you the overview of the Motion X600. So it's all about its spatial audio. It's got 2 modes. It's got stereo mode. Remember that old-fashioned stereo mode? You just had 2 left and right, and it still created a decent 3D image. And then they said, we'll stick a upward firing, a sky driver, I think they're calling it. But it's an upward firing driver. And they said, we've got spatial audio processing, and the world went mad. And they all said, it's the best speaker I've heard because it's got this wishy-washy, nice spread of sound. It's nice. It's nice to listen to for 5 minutes. But is it the greatest speaker of all? It's not. It's really not the greatest speaker, especially at 200 quid. And I'm amazed at the hype. Okay, it's just a firmware upgrade video, so we'll just do the firmware upgrade video. I already said, if you push the volumes after 60, even after 50%, for me, it's getting a bit bright. It's got 2 modes of stereo mode, the spatial mode, but to me, the stereo mode is deliberately a dull mode, so that when you switch to spatial audio, it's wow, it's opened up and it's gone fantastic, but really, my opinion, do I know that as a fact? No. Could I be wrong? Yes. But in my opinion, I don't understand how they would have tuned such a poor, dull stereo mode, but had a nice, sparkly spatial mode if it wasn't just to make it sound even better than it is, because obviously when you A-B, you're just hitting the spatial and then off and then on and off and on. You say, oh, it's opened up the sound. And of course, for 5 minutes, it sounds great, but then you have a listen to a lot of tracks and well, it's not quite what I remembered. So I said, I have a problem with a passive radiator. I think it's a passive radiator. If you push the bass, and I am known as Mr. Boomy and boosted bass and all that, and yet I can't use this for the first time, a Soundcore speaker with the bass button on, because it's very wishy. It just sounds out of control. It sounds heavily distorted, and it almost sounds like it's come loose. Maybe it's just my speaker, but it doesn't do deep bass, and it can only be the passive radiator, because obviously that's reinforcing the bass. It just sounds bad when you push it. And so, to overcome that, when you go into custom mode, and that's Soundcore is all about their EQ, proper multi-band EQ, graphic equalizer, you go in and you can, by bringing down the mids and highs relative to the bass, you fill out some of that bass without having to push it, which is what the bass up, or the bass button does. It is bass up, it's got an arrow pointing up. So I'm hoping they fix that. Okay? I've suddenly gone serious. That's what I'm hoping. Do you know what I did? I recorded it before, I recorded it after. Nothing moves. And I have a look at the charts. The charts on this one tell me, do you know, it's right on the border of margin of error at 60%, both in spatial and stereo mode. It's a tad more in the bass, and there's a about a third of a decibel less in the mids, extending slightly into the highs, but basically in the mids. Sort of basically what I was doing with my custom EQ. Not by much, but enough for me to say it's just outside of margin of error. I would say that's real for me. For you, it may not make any difference at all. And the question is, and that, by the way, that's at maximum volume as well. Exactly the same thing, except not in spatial mode, but certainly in stereo mode, again, 100%. It looks like they've reduced the mids, tad more in the bass, upper bass, to do what I said, give it a bit more relative bass, because pushing the bass, that passive radio really seems to be an issue. For me, nobody else. I think one other person comment may actually be my speaker, but I can only go with the speaker they sent me, and it may actually be the last speaker they ever sent me. Why is that out? Well, check out my Instagram. You'll understand. Have a listen. Tell me if you can hear the difference. 60%, 100%.
You and me, baby, ain't nothing but mammals, so let's do it like they do on the Discovery Channel. You and me, baby, ain't nothing but mammals, so let's do it like they do on the Discovery Channel. That's right. I'll be the predator, I'll hunt the prey, then we can make love every night, every day. It's a jungle out there and life still ain't easy, but we can make like the animals on TV. Cause you and me, baby, ain't nothing but mammals, so let's do it like they do on the Discovery Channel. You and me, baby, ain't nothing but mammals, so let's do it like they do on the Discovery Channel. You and me, baby, ain't nothing but mammals, so let's do it like they do on the Discovery Channel. You and me, baby, ain't nothing but mammals, so let's do it like they do on the Discovery Channel. You and me, baby, ain't nothing but mammals, so let's do it like they do on the Discovery Channel.
If I listen really, really closely, shut my eyes, I can just about pick out where the change is. So slightly more bass heavy, slightly less in the mids. I can just about get that difference, and not by looking, by shutting my eyes. I would imagine for most people, they're going to hear no difference at all. And that's just on my speaker. Is that margin of error? Possibly, but I would say just outside. I say for me, that difference is real, but it's small. But for me, because these firmwares have become really, really boring, for the first time in a long time, I would pronounce, for me, the audio's changed, but only very, very slightly. And it may just be on my model, because that's the thing about firmware upgrades. We all get different, no matter what I find on my firmware upgrade, I will guarantee I will get someone come in and say the bass has been cut. Someone will say the bass is massively higher, or the trebles. We all have a different, and that may be real, or it may just be expectation bias, but maybe it's affecting different speakers in a different way. That's very, very possible. Remember, they will vary a little bit in the hardware. The tolerance levels, at this budget end, 200 quid, expensive, $200, but still, at that budget end. So there you go. There is the Soundcore Motion X600 firmware upgrade. We're now on 4.2.1. Has it completely changed everything for the speaker? No. I like the speaker, but I am amazed what I'm reading and seeing online about this being like the best speaker people have heard. I don't understand what they compared it and what they're listening for. Yes, it opens up the sound, but that doesn't make it. That makes it more pleasant, and I understand. That's why I say this. That's for me. That's a 5-minute tuning. Outside of that, then it becomes there's a lack of body. It's too sparkly, and it's too thin, too brittle. As you go up the volume steps, as that relative bass comes off, and you have to hit the bass up button. Maybe it's just my Motion X600, but there's a problem with that passive radiator, and it's really horrible. So with bass heavy tracks, if you're playing tracks where it's really already bass boosted, and then you put that on, it's completely out of control, completely distorted. And for the first time ever, I can't use a bass up button. Okay, I hope you got something out of this video, and I thank you for watching.
What the f was that?
It comes from China.
My speaker's got deep bass, balanced mids, and a bright high.
Yes, mine sounds exactly the same.